Hey, it's Frank, and it's History Through the Eyes of Faith, the podcast with Angie Ferris.
Hello.
Angie's here, and
here.
we're back. And
We're
producer
back.
Wes is here, and we're got a little bit of a studio set up today. We'll see how it goes, how it works out. You know, it's all about the content, and you can watch, you can listen, you can do both. You can just have it in your ears. But here we are. If you want to take a look,
Yeah.
we haven't really added.
Share and subscribe.
Share and subscribe, and share.
And like it. Push it up in the algorithm.
We've not done any like sharing of content on video yet, have we? Like if we want to throw up a picture or anything like that.
No, I don't think we have.
We're not. I'm not saying we're going to.
No, I don't know. Yeah, we will at some point.
Yeah. Anyway.
Like when we get some supporters, when we have some finances coming in, then we
Yeah.
can pay Wes to look up pictures of the people we're actually talking about and throw them up there sometimes. Or a
when
map.
when producer Wes becomes full time.
Yes, when he like gets compensated.
Yeah. We are glad you're here. If you listen to the update episode, you've got a little bit of background, but we're here with a brand new episode, brand new content. And how you want to get started, because I know we start in different ways.
I'm fine with your story. You've just been itching to tell.
I've been
the
itching
story.
to tell a story. It's kind of how we break the ice by getting updated.
That has a whole new meaning now.
Break the ice.
Break the ice. If the ice doesn't break you first.
Well, we've had a guest on this podcast, Tad, as episode 50 or 75 or
75.
What? Episode 75.
Arthur.
Okay. Tad is head of special events at the JW Marriott Hill Country in San Antonio. And they have, just like several Gaylord properties, have an experience at Christmas time called ICE.
Okay.
And I said, someone's missing an opportunity to tie in their ICE with the ICE that's in the news all the time with some sort of ad campaign. Don't you think?
Maybe, but I don't know who would want to come.
But I mean, you'd be like, my idea would be like this holiday season, experience ICE where no one is going to be shot. You know, something like that.
And you're talking about a town in Texas that is not a tremendous distance from the border.
Right. I'm like,
and you're going to play up the ICE aspect.
Somebody's missing an
of the
opportunity.
hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come to ICE. Not that one. But anyway, my story is, and I've not even when we've been together the last several hours, I've not said this to him. Maybe I have it to him. I've said it to him. I just got back from a vacation.
That's right. I've been seeing goofy pictures of you.
I just got back from a vacation in the Bahamas that I earned because I sold a certain amount. My company said, "Here, Frank, you're coming to the President's Club with us for this vacation."
Were other people from your company there also?
Yeah. So I report to a gentleman, and then there's the owner of the company. Those two people and their wives, and myself and Rhonda, were the six of us. Now, there's no mandatory you have to be with everybody all the time, but we did have dinners together, and we did sit by the beach and the pool together. We went to a resort. Let me just say, Angie, I have never been on a vacation like this in my life.
Really?
It was so VIP that it has ruined me. As far
that you did not need to be ruined.
Listen.
You did not need to be ruined.
Listen.
I've been on VIP vacations. You did not need to be ruined.
Listen. We arrive at the airport in Nassau, get our bags, go through customs. And now it's a Sandals resort, okay?
Yeah.
It's called the Sandals Royal Bahamian. We go to the Sandals office in the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, "Oh, hi, Mr. Raines, this is your bags. All right. Give us just a minute. Have a seat. You want a water or anything?" Gentleman named Marky Mark is our Rolls Royce driver to the resort.
Mm-hmm.
Opening up the doors, we get in the back seat. He takes us to the resort. It's about a 20-minute drive. He tells us about the sights. He's like, "And a party." He's turning the music on, you know, and we see the house from the movie Thunderball, James Bond movie Thunderball. Sean Connery lived on the island for a long time. He knew Marky Mark. They knew each other. Marky Mark's a character. We get to the resort, we check in, and we meet Samson the butler. We have butler service. He gives us your room's not ready yet. Let me show you around the property, take you to lunch. We go to the restaurant, hands me a phone. This is the butler phone. You will call me on that or text me. And I'm going to go check on your room. Y'all enjoy lunch. Text me when you're done with lunch. We get to our room after lunch. Second floor overlooks the ocean and the pool. Big living room, bedroom, patio. And we were there for 4 nights. And all we had to do was say, tomorrow we want this for breakfast at this time. And he brings it. And he's like, every time he answered the phone, Samson the butler. And the chairs out by the pool or by the beach, if you tell them what chairs you want, they go out there and they set up a cooler. They put your towel down and that's yours. Whenever you want to show up, that's there for you. Of course, everything's inclusive, open bar, everything. Every morning I just walk by, get me a Bloody Mary, go sit at the beach. They have a private island that you can take a boat to and go across and have a bar and a pool there and a private coastline. It's ridiculous. I mean.
And so that motivates you to work really hard so you get to do that again next year and then up it some.
Yeah. Well, what Rhonda was able to articulate, which I thought was good, because I found out about how much this trip cost. Because Troy, our owner, because I was trying to figure out all inclusive and meals and, kind of, is it break even? Are you making money? Are you saving money? And so he kind of told me how much it cost per person, including airfare. And what we kind of took away from that is they could have given me cash or they give you this trip because I wouldn't
spend your cash on that.
I wouldn't spend my money on that trip. But my gosh, I had the best time and the weather was great. I just couldn't believe I just couldn't believe that I was just being in that space. And I mean, again, it's not like we had our own hotel or our own place. We were at a resort. There's a lot of other people there.
But it's super nice.
It was fantastic.
You get waited on hand and foot.
Yeah. Now you had to pay for different things that you wanted to do, like if you want spa services or excursions
and stuff like that. Yeah.
And we didn't really do any of that. We didn't have to. I mean, we had a view. We had breakfast. It was, and we decided it was like, let's just keep asking the butler for stuff until they said we've asked for too much. Like, how far can we go with this? Like,
that sounds like y'all.
Yeah, yeah. How far can we, they didn't have microwaves in the room, right? So I like to drink coffee for a while before I eat. Rhonda needs to eat before she drinks coffee. So they bring the food out, but my food's a little bit cold because I'm waiting a little bit. So the next day I said, bring mine 30 minutes later. Sure, no problem, no problem.
No problem.
Yeah, got it. We had 2 butlers, Samson and Walden's, who went by Wally. And then the other couples that we were with, they would go up and get a drink or go order some pizza or go get some bottles of water. And then their butler would walk up and go, what are you doing? Are you working? They don't do that anymore. You ask me if you need something. Yeah. Yeah, we said we want 6 chairs by the pool, near the bar, facing the sun. No problem. And he told me he got out there at 4 a.m. And I started thinking about all these butler service, the guests that have the butler service. If their guest asks them for something and someone else has already reserved it, they're going to have to do some negotiating on the back end.
Right.
Like, what do you have that I can take, or what can I pay you if you switch those reservations for this night and you move to this night and you do this? They got a whole thing working in the background so that their guest gets what they want, right? So we had dinners. I mean, we came back Thursday, but we didn't tell anybody we came back. We kept posting things like we're still there because we didn't want anybody to know that we were back. But it was just crazy good.
That's great.
Crazy good. And now we got to figure out where we're going to go next year, but it's just a matter of getting the numbers. But I just have been.
Incentive programs are awesome.
Well, I just had no idea it was going to be that VIP. Like, I didn't know that we were, and even our room, I don't know if it was supposed to be where it was. It was on the corner. It was at the end of the hall. And we were just right now. What was interesting, we were near a pool that had the DJ most of the day and like the speakers where they do like trivia games or volleyball, whatever. So when we're getting ready to go to bed, it's all right, and it's like right outside our window. But by 11 o'clock, they'd shut it down. They'd shut it down by 11 o'clock. I did do some karaoke, put on a little bit of a show.
Oh, how fun.
I did do some dancing, put on a little bit of a show. Yeah. But yeah, it was...
We did one incentive trip to Cancun, and the resort we were at, the Tennessee Titans were there. It was in between, and that was karaoke and with them.
Yeah, it's just been a crazy week, and to be back
That's
and be
super
like,
cool. I'm
now
glad
where are we
you
going
got
to get
to
to
do
go
that.
next? Yeah, so that was my story. I was dying to tell because I just can't.
I'm so
I
excited
just had
for
such a
you.
great week.
That's wonderful.
And my boss, I mean, the people that I work with are great and good time. And this is quick funny. I won't show you now. I'll show you later. But we're on the beach with them. And Troy, who owns the company, he's 6'11". He might have told you he's about 7 feet tall.
No,
And
wow, stands out.
Yes, he does stand out. And he is, a former basketball player. He's just a couple of years, about a year and a half older than me. So I'm walking around my chair at the beach and I see his flip-flops. I said, I'm going to have to put those on. So I put on his flip-flops. There's a video of me walking in his flip-flops. It looks like that on snowshoes on the sand. Yeah. His shoes about that
So
big.
I know it's a new company. Are you the first person they've taken on one of these?
No. I mean, it's not a new company. It's new. I mean, the company's been around 27 years.
Oh, okay.
And they go on these every year, but they haven't had a lot of reps earn the trip. And so, yeah. So I was there, and I hope to be there next year. We're trying to decide we're going to. So I'll tell you one of the ideas that they have, because he was already talking about this on the trip, and I know we're into this pretty far. He's like, Frank, you were talking about next year, and here's some ideas. And so he's already emailed me ideas of places to go, and I think the idea is that they want to fly a long time, but they have done with their family a VIP at Disney, where you pay. It's not a fast pass. It's front of the line. It's like you're escorted to the front of everything that you want to do with a premium ticket.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm interested in that. Like, if you can do Disney and you're just going wherever you want to go, whenever you want to go, that's an amazing experience, because that'll also ruin you.
Yeah. I've already been to Disney this year.
And we haven't talked about it.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll have to come back to that.
All right. So where are we talking about in history?
So when we finished our last content, which for you guys was pretty recent, for us it was a while back. So I don't think Frank remembers. We were talking about the Counter-Reformation or the Catholic Reformation. And there was one group of people that played really big in that. Do you remember their names?
In the Counter-Reformation?
The Catholic Reformation. That's kind of the same thing. We talked
I can't remember the group of people.
We did 2 episodes, one from one perspective and one from another.
Okay.
And it was the Jesuits. And the founder of the Jesuits was the name that I had trouble saying. Do you remember? You don't remember?
Give me a hint.
You corrected me so many times. Kind of like Toyota.
Kind of like Toyota.
I say that because it was Loyola.
Loyola.
And you were trying to get me to say it correctly because I want to say Loyola. And then I started thinking as I was listening to the episode, well, it's just like Toyota, but it's just an L instead of a
Loyola?
T. Loyola.
What were you saying?
Loyola. I was wanting to make the Y like a Spanish y, you know?
Loyola?
Like a J, Juan. Like, no, it's funny.
Loyola. I have a new Toyota. Whatever. Okay, go ahead.
So, and then we talked about Xavier, Francis Xavier, and I've forgotten Loyola's first name. Anyway, founded the Jesuits, Counter-Reformation, blah, blah, blah. So we got out there.
This is all sounding very familiar.
So we put out there all of the Protestant Reformation, all of those reformers, and then we did episode 150, which was the big review. And then we came back with, so this was the Catholic response or the Catholic reform, because it wasn't, the reason the Protestant Reformation happened is because the church needed to be reformed. The Catholics recognized that. And there's an argument they probably would have recognized it, and they did, whether the Protestants happened or not. But the point is, now we're left with, and we talked about this some in the episode, we're left with Protestant and Catholics everywhere, all over Europe. But remember, you have to be, all history is known, is that the religion is the religion of the leader. So if a Catholic monarch dies and the heir to their throne is Protestant, then the whole country changes. That's a lot of what's happening in England. I have, like you, have read and watched a lot of stuff, so I can't remember how much of this we actually talked about on here. But I think we did go through the story of like Henry Tudor and then Henry VIII and then all the wives and then his children once he was gone. Mary was straight up hardcore Catholic. The son, I believe, was James. He was Protestant. And then there was Elizabeth, who'd kind of been raised Protestant. Now, we go through James and Mary pretty quick, and we talked about that in past episodes, and then Elizabeth reigns for many years. We haven't really talked about Elizabeth yet. We just got her to the throne because that's at the time period where we are now. So we mentioned in our last episode that what we were going to do was talk about a particular monarch that would then give us kind of a feel for this tension between Protestant and Catholic that's going on throughout Europe. I don't know why the computer's beeping again, but anyway.
Is it a battery indicator?
I don't know, but it's plugged in, so it shouldn't be. Okay. I don't see anything about a battery.
All right.
And I still haven't traded in, guys, because as you know, if you watched our update, it's been a little busy. So
we haven't traded in
the computer for another one.
Okay.
I need to upgrade, okay? And
okay.
I just have not taken the time to do that in the midst of everything else.
All right.
So this story is coming from a book we've used before, Famous Men, even though this is about a woman, Famous Men of the 16th and 17th Century by Rob Shearer. And we're talking about Catherine de Medici.
De Medici.
I think that's how you told me to say it, because I used to say de Medici.
De Medici. Okay.
Catherine de Medici.
Okay.
She lived from 1519 to 1589.
Okay. Roughly 70 years.
She was Queen of France from 1547 to 1559. And she was the Queen Mother from 1559 to 1589.
What's the difference between Queen of France and Queen Mother?
The Queen of France is married to the king. The Queen Mother is the mother of the king.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yes. So we're going to tell her story. In 1519, Cortez, the great Spanish conquistador, led a small band of mercenary adventurers in the conquest of the Aztec Empire in Mexico. So we're framing what's happening in 1519. Cortez is conquering the Aztecs in Mexico. Mm-hmm. In Europe, the young Habsburg prince from Burgundy, Charles, who becomes Charles V, already king of Spain by inheritance from his mother's parents, Ferdinand and Isabella, was elected Holy Roman Emperor. So we've talked about him. He's been entering our story for many episodes. Mm-hmm. All over the empire, and also in France, England, and Italy, Martin Luther's writings on the scandal of indulgences were being widely printed and read. Pope Leo X, irritated and annoyed, was on the brink of excommunicating him. This is the years 1519. Mm-hmm. In Florence, a baby girl named Catherine was born a new princess in the famous Medici family. Her father Medici family.
Now I got it. But you were saying it different before. Medici?
I was saying de Medici because it always usually has that DE in front of it.
Okay, so now we're not saying the DE, we're just saying Medici.
Yeah, but okay. I was pronounced. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Right. I'm going to try to stick with Medici.
Okay.
Her father, just 27 years old, was Lorenzo II, grandson of Lorenzo the Magnificent and nephew to the Pope. Remember, they were all up in the stuff in Florence, and then the Pope started coming out of that family. Her mother was a beautiful 17-year-old French aristocrat, Madeleine de la Tour d'Auvergne, Countess of Bouillon. Madeleine de la Tour d'Auvergne, Countess of Boulogne.
Some French folks are really entertained by the way you're
I've taken French, so I'm not as far off on that as I am on other things.
Okay.
Lorenzo and Madeleine had been married for just a little over a year. A month after the birth of their daughter Catherine, both Lorenzo and Madeleine were dead of the plague. 1 month old, her parents died of the plague. After the death of her parents, Catherine spent the first 8 years of her life growing up in Florence, cared for by her aunts. When her great uncle, Pope Leo X, Giovanni de' Medici, died, Cardinal Giulio de' Medici became the head of the Medici family. He was elected Pope Clement VII in 1524.
Pope Clement VII. Now, are there still just one pope at this time?
Yes, we're back to one.
Okay.
And there was only that little weird period of history where we went through the 2s and the 3s, and we're past that.
Okay, we're past it. So he is the pope.
Yes.
Her great uncle.
Yeah, well, her great uncle was the pope. He died, and then Cardinal, this guy who was a cardinal,
okay, so he wasn't related.
de' Medici, also related, became the head of the Medici family. He was elected Pope Clement VII in 1524. So I guess it was, I don't know if they were back to back. I guess
because she was just 5 years old when he became pope.
Yeah. In 1527, the Medici were overthrown in Florence by a popular uprising supported by the rivals of Pope Clement VII. The 8-year-old Catherine was taken hostage and placed in a series of convents. After 3 anxious years, Pope Clement, with the help of Emperor Charles V, defeated his rivals, and once again, Florence was ruled by the Medici. Now, we mentioned this going on when we were talking about Emperor Charles V and Luther, because we were saying he was distracted by what was going on in Italy and didn't come after Luther immediately. The 11-year-old Catherine was brought from the convent in Florence to live with her much older cousin, Pope Clement, in Rome. So the first one was her uncle, and this one's her cousin. When she was 14, Pope Clement arranged for her marriage to Prince Henry, Duke of Orleans, the second son of King Francis I of France. 2 years later, Prince Henry's older brother, Francois, caught a chill after a game of tennis, contracted a fever, and died. Catherine's husband, Prince Henry, was now the heir to the Kingdom of France. In 1547, King Francis I died. Henry and Catherine, both 28 years old, became King and Queen of France in 1547. The France that Henry and Catherine ruled over was bitterly divided over matters of religion. Okay, so we're now 30 years after the theses are put on the door by Luther. Okay. In 1536, a French scholar, John Calvin, had written an admirable summary of the Protestant faith, the Institutes of Christian Religion. He dedicated the treatise to King Francis I, Catherine's father-in-law, with an appeal to the king to reform the French church. So this was 11 years before the king died, that Calvin dedicated the Institute of Religions to the king with an appeal that the king reform the French church.
Okay.
Francis rejected the appeal and ordered Protestants arrested as heretics. Calvin fled France and settled in Geneva. There he continued to write, preach, and teach French Protestants, also known as Huguenots, who returned to France to lead secret underground churches.
No, we talked about that, haven't we?
Yes, we've talked about all of that. But the important thing here is the French Protestants are called Huguenots. That's going to come up over and over again. Mm-hmm. When Henry became king in 1547, he vowed to rid France of all heretics. He instructed his officials to arrest and punish them, particularly their ministers. The punishment was often burning at the stake or having their tongues cut off for speaking heresies. Even those merely suspected of being Protestants could be imprisoned. The Edict of Chateaubriand, June 27, 1551, called upon the civil and ecclesiastical courts to detect and punish all heretics. The edict also prohibited the sale, importation, or printing of any unapproved book. Okay? It didn't work. In spite of the persecution by the king, the number of Protestants continued to grow. Henry and Catherine's family also grew. They had one son, Francis, before becoming king and queen. Now they had 3 more sons, Charles, Henry, and Hercules, and 3 daughters, Elizabeth, Claude, and Margaret. After 12 years as king and queen, Henry and Catherine, each now 40 years old, were in the prime of life. In April 1559, King Henry II signed a peace treaty with the Holy Roman Empire, which brought to an end 50 years of war between the Valois kings of France and the Habsburg emperors of Germany and kings of Spain. So there's been a 50-year war between the Roman Empire and the Habsburgs. And now he's signed a peace treaty. As part of the treaty, Henry and Catherine betrothed their daughter Elizabeth to King Philip II of Spain. King Philip II, then 32 years old, had been widowed the previous year when his wife, Queen Mary I of England, had died. So that's the Philip that they married to Mary, Queen of England.
Mm-hmm.
And she died. There was peace and there was going to be a wedding. The wedding in June of 1559 was celebrated with festivities, balls, masks, and 5 days of jousting. King Henry II took part in the jousting himself. He won his first 2 matches, but in the 3rd match, a young French knight, Gabriel, the Count de Montgomery, a member of the king's Scottish Guard, shattered his lance against the helmet of the king. One of the splinters pierced the king's eye and entered his brain. He died 10 days later.
Now this is
the King of Spain, the King of France, Catherine's husband.
He died.
King Henry II.
Yeah, okay.
From a splinter through his eye into his brain.
He's out there jousting.
Mm-hmm. Catherine was devastated. From that day on until she died, she wore black in mourning for her husband.
But was that their son's wedding or their daughter's wedding?
Their daughter's wedding to the King of Spain.
Daughter Victoria?
Elizabeth, I think it was.
Okay.
Yes. Henry and Catherine's eldest son became King Francis II at the age of 15. Catherine looked forward to watching him rule as king and assisting him from the background, but this was not to be. 17 months after becoming king, Francis II died of an ear infection just before his 17th birthday. Catherine's next son, Charles, only 9 years old, now became King Charles IX of France. Catherine could not stand in the background. She decided she must rule as regent in her son's name and keep France strong until he was old enough to rule on his own. The biggest problem facing France continued to be the religious division between Catholic and Protestant. The majority of the country had remained Catholic, but there was a significant minority who had embraced the Protestant faith, including a number of influential nobles. So there were people who were nobles that had embraced the Protestant faith. Catherine decided to call for a conference between the bishops of the Catholic Church in France and the leaders of the Huguenots. 6 French cardinals and 38 archbishops and bishops attended the conference, held in a convent in Poissy, just outside Paris, in September of 1561. The Huguenot delegation was led by Theodore Beza, Calvin's successor in Geneva. Catherine was actively involved in the proceedings and wished desperately for some agreement which all French Christians could agree to. But the differences between the two sides were too great. After a month of meetings, the conference broke up without any agreement. 6 months later came a shocking incident that triggered 36 years of civil war. Now, what we're describing here is not this situation is happening in France, but there's things similar to this happening throughout Europe. And we'll talk a little bit about those in probably the next episode. But 6 months later, after the conference broke up, there was a shocking incident that triggered 36 years of civil war. In March of 1562, one of the great nobles of France, Francois, the Duke of Guise, traveling with his troops to his estate, stopped in Vassy and decided to attend Mass. In the town, he found a congregation of Huguenots holding religious services. Outraged, he ordered their minister to stop. So he's a Catholic, deciding to attend Mass, orders the Protestants to stop. The Huguenots, outraged in turn by this rude interruption of their worship, began to throw stones at the Duke. His men opened fire. When the shooting stopped, over 60 of the Huguenots had been killed and more than 200 wounded. That's a bunch of people.
Yeah.
The massacre at Vassy began a civil war between Catholics and Protestants. The Protestants or Huguenots were led by a veteran soldier and nobleman, Gaspard de Coligny. He was joined by the young Henry of Navarre. The Catholic party was led by Henry, Duke of Guise, who was the son of that Francois, Duke of Guise, who had been responsible for the massacre at Vassy. So related, it was his dad that was responsible for that, and he was leading it. Francois had been ambushed and shot outside the city of Orleans by a Protestant soldier. In 1570, Catherine and her son, King Charles, realized that 8 years of war had accomplished nothing. So this is 8 years in of what ends up being a 36-year war. The kingdom was practically bankrupt, and Catherine advised Charles that they must sign a treaty of peace with the Huguenots. The king agreed to allow the Huguenots the liberty to establish their own churches and to worship as they please everywhere in France except the city of Paris. The Huguenots were allowed to keep control of 4 strong cities and to maintain a garrison of soldiers in each of them as a safeguard against any future conflict. Finally, the Peace of Saint-Germain proclaimed a general pardon to all who had taken arms up against the king. So that was a capital offense to take up arms against the king. Mm-hmm. So he's pardoning everybody who's done that. He's saying in these cities you can practice Protestantism and you can have a guard in case you need one, but you can't do it in Paris, and we're going to have peace. Henry of Guise was not happy with the Peace of Saint-Germain. The Protestants were heretics and had been responsible for the death of his father. He thought that Catherine and King Charles should have continued the war until the Huguenots were defeated and forced to repent of their errors or sent into exile. When Catherine announced that her youngest daughter, Marguerite, would marry the Huguenot, Henry of Navarre, Henry of Guise left the court in anger and disgust. Both the Pope and King Philip of Spain condemned Catherine for her decision to arrange a marriage between her daughter and a Protestant heretic. In August of 1572, the marriage of Marguerite of Valois and Henry of Navarre took place just outside the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. The wedding could not take place inside the church because Henry was not a Catholic. Many of the Huguenot leaders who had come to Paris to help celebrate the wedding, many had. They hoped that this marriage would bring the wars of religion in France to an end. 3 days after the wedding, the veteran soldier Gaspard de Coligny, leader of the Huguenots, was walking back to his rooms from the royal palace when a shot rang out from a house and wounded him in the hand and arm. Coligny was carried back to his rooms, but his physicians soon determined that the wounds were not serious and he was expected to recover quickly. It is not clear if Catherine was responsible for the plot to assassinate Coligny. The Guise family was certainly behind it. They may have been supported and assisted by the King of Spain. There is some evidence that Catherine knew about the plot but did nothing to stop it. But Catherine was involved in what happened next. She and her son, King Charles IX, met to discuss what they should do. The Huguenots were angry and demanding vengeance for the attack on Coligny. The Guise family were angry and wanted to end all toleration for the Protestant heretics. Catherine and Charles made a fateful decision. They would take advantage of the fact that all the Huguenot leaders were still in Paris for the wedding of Henry of Navarre. They would have them all arrested and executed. You invite them there for a wedding.
And this is all still during the war, though, the Civil War.
Yeah, like this. Well, they were at a peace treaty, and they planned this wedding, and then this guy gets shot, and they invited him there for the wedding, but now they're going to execute them all, arrest them all and execute them because they're still there. The king's personal guard were given a list of leading Protestants who were to be killed. The signal to begin would be the ringing of the church bells for matins, which occurs early in the morning, shortly after midnight, on the feast of Saint Bartholomew. Catherine brought the Guise family into the plot. When the bells rang, Henry, Duke of Guise, was directed to personally supervise the capture and execution of Gaspard de Coligny. Catherine dispatched further orders to the commander of the militia in Paris to close the city gates and guard all entrances and exits from the city. She also gave orders that her new son-in-law, Henry of Navarre, and his cousin, the Prince of de Conde, were to be spared, though their companions should be killed. So she's not going to kill her son-in-law and his cousin. Catherine believed perhaps that by killing 100 or so of the leading Huguenots, she could protect her son, the king, and remove the threat to his reign by these rebellious heretics. But her terrible decision led quickly to a massacre that killed thousands. Gaspard de Coligny was killed first. Just after midnight, as the bells rang, the Duke of Guise and his followers arrived at his hotel, broke down the door, and trapped him in his rooms on the second floor. He was stabbed repeatedly, and then his body hurled from a second-story window into the street where Duke Henry stood waiting. Then the king's guards began to hunt down the Huguenot nobles in the palace. Henry of Navarre was separated from his followers and friends and locked in a room. His companions were slaughtered. Not just the men were executed, but entire families of Huguenots perished, including women and children. By dawn, there was a large pile of corpses in the courtyard of the Louvre. Now, we know the Louvre as an art museum, but it was the palace of the kings before.
Okay.
The violence quickly spread beyond the attacks on the visiting Huguenot nobles. The militia of Paris began systematically killing Protestants throughout the city. They were joined by large crowds of citizens who attacked the homes of Protestants, drugged the terrified inhabitants into the street, and killed them all. For 3 days, the killing continued. When it was over, at least 3,000 Protestants had been killed in Paris.
And what do they call this?
The killing, I don't remember, we're going to get to that. The killing also spread to the other cities and provinces of France. No one to this day knows how many were killed, but it was certainly many times the number who perished in Paris. Protestants outside France were outraged and aghast. Queen Elizabeth of England was concerned for the actions of the King of France might be the beginning of a plot to kill Protestants all over Europe. In France, civil war broke out again. The Huguenots were besieged in their chief cities of Sommières and La Rochelle. For a year, the siege continued, but neither side could gain an advantage. Finally, a truce was signed. It doesn't tell what the name is, but I'm sure it's around that wedding.
You mean the wedding is what caused this?
Well, the wedding's what got everybody there, and then you almost could think that she planned the wedding to do that. But
So are you saying Catherine, her place in history?
We're not to the end of her story yet.
No, but so far, she's not a big fan of the Protestants.
No, very Catholic. Well, it sounded like she was trying to broach peace there for a minute.
Well, she's having her son marry, or her daughter marry a Huguenot.
Yeah, and then, though, the people in her court who are Catholic that are complaining about it persuade her that for France to survive, she's got to be able to take out the Huguenots. Anyway, in France, civil war broke out. We mentioned that. For a year, the siege continued, but neither side could gain an advantage. Finally, a truce was signed. The exhausted Huguenots were forced to give up their right to have their own churches. They were now restricted to worshiping publicly only in La Rochelle and 2 other small cities. But Catherine and Charles agreed they were otherwise to be left alone. Within a few months, however, King Charles IX, never strong, weakened and died. He was only 23. He had been king for 13 years. During most of his reign, Catherine de Medici had been the real power in France. She had controlled the king's council. She had issued the orders which had gone out in his name. Even when he was declared old enough to rule on his own, she continued to control the kingdom. Catherine had now buried a husband and 2 of her 4 sons. Her 3rd son, Henry, now became King Henry III. He was 22 years old. Catherine was determined that he would be a strong king. Henry was determined to be his own master. Though he kept many of Catherine's advisors as his own, he wanted to rule in his own name. During the first 10 years of Henry's reign, there were 3 outbreaks of civil war between Protestant and Catholic. By most historians, these are called the 5th War, the 6th War, and the 7th War, which were 75 to 76, 76 to 77, 79 to 80. In the French, quote, Wars of Religion. So all of this is part of the French Wars of Religion.
So you would say the other one's probably War II.
Or something.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Each of them involved fighting between the 3 factors in France: the French Protestants, known as the Huguenots, the Catholic League, an alliance of French nobles led by Henry, Duke of Guise, and the forces loyal to King Henry III. So that's 3 factors. The Huguenots were supported by Protestant England and some of the Protestant princes in Germany. The Catholic League was supported by King Philip II of Spain and by the Pope. The French king was often in command of fewer resources and fewer soldiers than either of the 2 rival parties. So there's really 3 parties in this war. Catherine did all she could to support her son, King Henry III. He married a princess from Lorraine named Louise a year after becoming king. Unless he had a son, however, the next person in line of succession would be Henry's youngest brother, Catherine's 4th and youngest son, Hercules Francois, Duke of Anjou and Alençon, usually called, and he was usually went by Alan. I'm going to say Alencon. I meant to look this up because it's Alenc with that little funky thing under it. O-N. Mm-hmm. Alençon. We're going to call it Alençon.
But his name was Hercules?
Yeah, but we're not calling him that. That's not what, Hercules Francois, Duke of Anjou and Alençon.
Hercules Francois.
And in 1579, when Alençon was 24, I don't like that. Catherine made inquiries as to whether, we're going to call him Alan. Catherine made inquiries as to whether Queen Elizabeth of England would consider him as a suitor for her hand in marriage. The response from Queen Elizabeth was encouraging, and the young man departed for England to court the 46-year-old Virgin Queen. Did you know Elizabeth never married? She was called the Virgin Queen. Elizabeth and Alan quickly became friends, and she seemed to be seriously considering giving her consent to marry him. But Elizabeth's advisors were very much opposed because all these intermarrying between the kings and queens was really not helping things very much. They objected to Alan's religion, Catholic, his nationality, French, and his mother, Catherine, whom most Englishmen believed was a terribly wicked woman, personally responsible for the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. After 2 years in which Elizabeth expressed her affection to Alan, but her reservations about marrying him, Alan finally gave up and left. He was the only foreign suitor who had ever come to court her in person. Alan left for the Netherlands, where William the Silent had invited him to become the hereditary ruler of the United Provinces of the Netherlands. The Spanish king Philip had inherited the territory from his father, Charles V, but had been unsuccessfully attempting to put down revolt and heresy for 10 years. Alan's first action was to attempt to occupy Antwerp, the largest city of the 17 provinces. It had been sacked by Spanish troops in 1576, but they had been withdrawn. However, the citizens of Antwerp were just as opposed to French troops as they were to Spanish. On January the 17th, 1583, Alan asked to be permitted to enter the city and to honor them with a parade. As soon as the troops entered the city, the gates were slammed shut behind them. The French troops were trapped and began to be bombarded from windows and rooftops with stones, rocks, logs, and even heavy chains. The city's garrison then opened a deadly point-blank fire. Only a few Frenchmen, including Alan, escaped. Over 1,500 troops perished, many of them hacked to death by the enraged citizens of Antwerp. Alan now fell ill with malaria. He was brought back to Paris, where his mother despaired over the prospect of bearing another of her sons. In spite of her efforts to nurse him back to health, he died in February of 1584. The situation in France became grave for Catherine and her only surviving son, King Henry III. Henry and his wife had been married for 9 years, but had no children. With the death of Alan, the new heir to the throne was a distant cousin of Catherine's dead husband, Henry II, none other than Henry of Navarre, the leader of the French Huguenots. So now, with the death of Alan, the leader of the French Huguenots is heir to the throne. Henry, Duke of Guise, was furious at the prospect of a Protestant king of France. He was determined that such a catastrophe could not be permitted to happen. He sought the support of the King of Spain, Philip, who signed a secret treaty with Duke Henry, promising to support him with money and troops to fight against the heretic Protestants. Thus began the War of the Three Henrys: Henry of Valois, Henry of Valois, King of France; Henry, Duke of Guise, leader of the Catholic League; and Henry of Navarre, leader of the Huguenots. This was the 8th and final war in the French Wars of Religion. When King Henry III recognized Henry of Navarre as his heir, Duke Henry of Guise resolved to overthrow the king. In the summer of 1588, with the support of the Spanish, Duke Henry organized a popular uprising in Paris. The king issued orders forbidding Duke Henry from entering the city, but the Duke defied the king. King Henry, with his troops outnumbered, sent for his mother, Catherine, and implored her to intervene and persuade Duke Henry to withdraw his troops. Catherine's appeal was rejected by the Duke. King Henry was forced to sign a humiliating agreement in which he promised never to conclude a truce or peace with the heretics, to forbid public office to anyone who would not take a public oath that they were a Catholic, and never to leave the throne to a prince who was not a Catholic. King Henry was humiliated, but he swore he would have his revenge. 5 months later, when Duke Henry paid a visit to the king at his castle of Blois, the king summoned him alone to a private visit. When the Duke entered the king's rooms, 9 of his guards leapt from behind the curtains and killed the Duke. The next day, they killed his brother, the Cardinal of Guise. King Henry went to see his mother and proudly announced what he had done. "At last, I am truly king of France again." Catherine is said to have replied, "God grant that you do not become king of nothing at all." 1 month later, Catherine died at the age of 69. Born in Florence, brought up in Rome, a princess at the court in Paris, she had been queen at 28 and then widowed at 40. She had buried 3 of her 4 sons and 2 of her 3 daughters. 3 of her sons had been crowned king of France. Her eldest daughter, Elizabeth, had married the King of Spain, but died when she was 23. Her second daughter, Claude, had married the Duke of Lorraine, but had died in 1575 at the age of 28. Only her son, Henry III, and her daughter, Marguerite, married to Henry of Navarre, survived her. So that wedding that happened in the midst of all that, they survived her.
The only ones that survived.
Catherine's life can only be described as tragic. She was a woman of great ability and had great ambitions for her husband and her children, but on more than one occasion she chose to order the murder of her enemies. Her reputation will forever be stained with the responsibility for the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. At her death, all that she had worked for seemed to be slipping away. So that was a story about Catherine, but I hope what we saw in that was the Protestants and the Catholics.
Yeah,
so everybody
the reason
in
that
that
story is in there has to do with religion.
Everybody that's in there is a Christian.
Yeah.
It's all Christians killing Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So the Christians killing the Muslims at the crusade, that was awful, but they do it to each other too. As history moves forward, here we go.
Yeah.
So is that the Church of Piety or the Church of Power?
Power.
Yeah. And what do we learn from our dude way back when? I can't remember his name, but I remember the quote.
Tell it.
Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it spreads. It's going on all throughout Europe, and I haven't. I've been out of the loop for a while in reading my history and getting caught up. But where I hope to take us next is more of an overview of what that's doing throughout Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to go ahead and tease this right here. We won't get to it for a while, but the people who came to this continent that we're on right now came because of this happening everywhere.
So how did you choose Catherine?
It was an easy choice because I had a book that had her in it, and it was a good example. It got a story.
I need more than that. So history through the eyes of faith. We're navigating post-Reformation.
More than that.
We talked about the Jesuits, and you went, Catherine, what's her last name?
Medici.
But she didn't. She went Catherine the something, right? Or Catherine Queen of.
No, they called her Catherine
de Medici.
Mm-hmm. But she became Queen of France and Queen Mother of France.
Well, Queen of France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so she's a pivotal character in that.
I don't know if pivotal's a lot. It's this book, Famous Men of the 16th and 17th Century. It's telling history not as a storyline, but as biographies.
Okay.
So you read each biography independently, and then you can weave them together in your mind based on the dates and the storylines, right? So she's in there because she was a character during the 16th and 17th centuries. I chose to share that story because it shows an example of the links to people will go, like you have to be Catholic or you have to be Protestant.
Right. Remind me when Martin Luther died.
I don't know. I want to say 1547. That just jumped into my head, but I don't know. He put the theses on the door in 1517, and I want to say it could have been the 30s. It was the 1530s or 1540s. I don't remember.
But his life overlaps with hers.
Yeah. Well,
she was born in 1519.
Yes.
And
so he was alive when she was born. He had just his protest had begun just 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
1546.
46.
Good. I guess I can get some points for that.
So she was in her 30s and she was a queen. She was married to the king.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So, and because Calvin plays into the story here, right? Mm-hmm. With the father-in-law, right? The king when she marries the son. Yeah.
That sounds like a good Netflix episodic.
I bet there is one somewhere.
Catherine de Medici.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's related. That's the thing. It's like, I wonder we've got my poster from the, what is it called? Useful Charts. Mm-hmm. It's not that many people. Mm-mm. You know, we talk about how everybody's connected. It's not that many people, and they're all marrying their kids off to other ones to maintain power, power.
What else do we want to talk about before we wrap up?
Oh, I don't know. I did go to Disney in January. That was fun. And we now have an annual pass for the year. Did I tell you that at all?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. So that was super cool.
You can go whenever you want.
Mm-hmm. For this year. Because here's what's happened. This year, you guys, is the 250th anniversary of our country. I would love if we could get to some stuff about American history before this 250th year is over. Okay. So because of that, Disney has offered super discount deals to the military. They opened a window. Mm-hmm. And so through our son, he was able to take advantage of that, and we were all able to get annual passes for the year.
Does annual pass mean you go and you have a free pass to get in?
You can get in any day. Well, depending on what kind of annual pass you got. They have some days that are blackout days. So like Christmas Day or spring break or, whatever. So there are some days that we don't get in. We can't just walk out with our pass and go in. But for the vast majority of the days, yes. And so like our daughter keeps a Florida resident annual pass. She has, and you can buy different levels of passes, and that has to do with how many blackout days you have, But we were able to get an annual pass for about the cost of a 3-day ticket. And we can go a 3-day park hopper ticket. Do you know what that means? Park hopper means you can get in and out of the different parks, or you can just buy a ticket to a park. So we went in January so that we would be going as early in the pregnancy as we could. And we did it very restfully. Our daughter lives in Florida, so we would like go to the park for a day and then take a day for a break and then go back to the park. And we activated our passes. We had to all be together to activate the pass because they were on Joshua's deal. But now that we're all activated, we can go whenever. So I plan on going several times this year.
Are there additional costs to go to the Star Wars part?
No.
Once you go in the park?
No, what you saw us is just what you did. No, it's not.
I can't wait to do it.
There's extra, we did a character lunch. And so you pay extra for that. What's the character? The character's there. So we went to, the lunch we went to, it's kind of based on when you can get a reservation. So what worked for our schedule is we went to a luncheon in Animal Kingdom. It was an African restaurant. It was authentic African food, very good food. And we had Mickey and Goofy and Donald and Daisy. And there was a fifth one. Or maybe it was just those four. Maybe it was just Mickey and Goofy. And they have their adventure costumes. They have different characters they play. So they came in and visited with us at our table while we were eating, took pictures with the girls. And girls got to dance with Daisy. They play a little every so often. I think it was like every 40 minutes or something, or 30 minutes. They play this song and everybody gets out in the rows and dances and stuff. And so anyway, it was super fun. And Aria got her an autograph book. So she got people's autograph, and we went to they have a new, we did Magic Kingdom one day, and then Animal Kingdom, and then Hollywood Studios, which is where the Star Wars is. And we didn't do the whole park in any of those places. It was just like, hey, it was a girl's first Disney trip. They got it on Christmas Day. They found out that they were going. And it was like, so we have a week-long vacation there planned in July. But we're going to stay on site. And
I can't wait to go.
Yeah, I want us to go together.
I want to tell you a theme park story as we wrap up.
Okay.
And I think I've handed this down to my boys, and I think they will carry this on.
Before you tell the theme park story, tell our viewers or listeners about the video, what I sent you while we were there. You remember the picture of us?
I do remember. I'm trying to remember. You sent me some stuff.
Where it zoomed out and zoomed back in, and the sky flyers went by.
I don't know why I don't remember it.
Oh, man. So we were in the Star Wars.
Yeah, I know you sent me some Star Wars stuff, and I was jealous.
And we were standing across from, what is it, the Millennium Falcon?
Oh, okay. And so in the sky, it looks like...
So we're across, and they have the cameras like halfway across the park. And the little photographer says, look up there, and just keep looking up there. And she pushes some buttons. And then when you get the picture back, it's a close-up of y'all, and it zooms out and takes in the whole park. And then it zooms back in on you. And while it's zoomed out, what are they called? The planes?
X-Wing fighters?
Yeah, the X-Wing flyers fly by over your head. So it looks like you're like really in the deal.
Why have I not? I got to go back and look it up.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it came. I don't know if that came. I'll have to go back and look it up. I'll tell this quick. I think Grayson has done this at theme parks, and it's one of my favorite things. Jurassic Park. This is Universal Studios.
Yes.
Jurassic Park ride. When you're done with those rides, any kind of ride that has like thrills, like, Star Wars, I will be getting off the ride, and I'll say to the people working there, hey, I don't want to cause any alarms. This is the Jurassic Park ride. I think some dinosaurs have gotten loose. I saw some stuff up there, looked a little dangerous. I saw some down wires. There was a Jeep off to the side. I don't want anybody to freak out. There might be some dinosaurs loose up there. Yeah. And it's always
does everybody
fun.
Laugh?
No, because the workers go, They get concerned. They think there's really a problem at first because I'm like,
Yeah.
look, I want to sell it. Like, hey, I just want you to know I don't know if it's very safe up at the top. I got a feeling that there might be some T-Rexes loose up there.
Yeah.
Then it's a blast. I love doing it. Other thing I like to do is when they take your picture, you pose.
Yeah.
I like to be on the phone.
Like
or
right as
asleep.
you're coming down the hill when everybody else is screaming.
Everybody's screaming, I'm asleep. Or I've got the map out trying to find the next
Anything
thing.
for a camera.
Yeah. We're glad y'all listened.
Yes.
Glad you watched.
Yes.
Learned about Catherine de Medici. And come back. Enjoy.
See you soon.
See you soon. Thanks. Hey, happy. Brewed.
Like, subscribe, and
improved.
share.
Like, subscribe, and share. Donate.
It's history through the eyes of faith, where the truth unfolds from the rise of ancient empires through the tales of saints and souls. With every word, with every tale they trace, we see the world's great story through the eyes of grace.